The winter meetings are underway, and we're pretty sure, maybe not positive, but we're pretty sure that the Minnesota Twins are there. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren, and you can unfollow me on Twitter at Brandon_WARNE. And back at it again, we are with Dave Brown. You can follow him on the X at Answer Dave Brown. Dave, how are we today?
Hi, Brandon. We're good. We're trying to find some proof of life of the Twins in Nashville. I don't know if we. I'm sure they're there, but I'm just trusting that. I don't know. I can't verify.
Yeah, we can't prove anything. They weren't part of the draft lottery. So who knows? Maybe part of the Rule 5 draft before everybody goes home. But thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube, and part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, always please feel free to be active in the comments, whether it's on YouTube or like, subscribe, thumbs up, all that fun stuff. We love positive feedback. It's just good for the soul, good for the algorithm. We like to feed that algorithm as best we can. And if you have any questions or comments or anything you want to get involved in with the show, just shoot me a message at Brandon_Warner at Locked On Twins. DMs are open, and we would love to hear from you. Now, Dave, yeah, near as we can tell, the winter meetings are going on, and the Twins, I mean, it's Opryland Event Center is a sprawling place in Nashville. But near as I can tell, the Twins have been spotted. They just have been getting their rest to this point.
It's so sprawling that you can get around in the water. I believe you can take like water taxis around. Maybe it's just a log ride or something. But it's a big area. Maybe they got lost in somewhere. We saw today Eric Feyty, player you were interested in. Yeah, signed with the White Sox. And it came down to them, or the Mets. And I think the White Sox won with money being equal because of the connections that Feyty has with Ethan Katz and Brian Bannister on the White Sox coaching staff. So it's what Brian Bannister made it sound like today on Twitter. So so the Twins lose out there. That's another guy that maybe they could have had to shore up the rotation for a decent amount of money. It's not like they're running out of time or running out of guys. A lot of teams aren't very active right now. So it's just a little boring for everybody.
Yeah, it sounds as though Feyty may have also just valued the ability to pitch. I mean, just to go somewhere and have an opportunity. And you know better than I do that the White Sox rotation is wide open at this point. And that's before they trade Dylan Cease, which I think we both agree is likely to happen. So yeah, it's going to be a good opportunity for Feyty to get some innings. And excuse me, if it works out for him, he's at an age where he may not be part of the next good White Sox team, but they have 2 years of control of him. They can trade him in between, get something for him. And I think that's probably what everyone's going to kind of hope for. Best case scenarios that he pitches well enough and that sort of thing. But again, you were mentioning Brian Bannister on Twitter. It talked about how he had kind of shaken up his repertoire a little bit. I think he added or tinkered with a sweeper split mix there. I'm eager to see what it looks like. Might be good, might be bad, but it's the White Sox. They don't have that many options.
No, and Feyty has his career path is not unfamiliar. There have been fairly well-regarded prospects who didn't quite pan out, go overseas, Japan, Korea, as Feyty did, sharpened some things, made some changes, and come back to the U.S. and been successful. And I think Miles Michaels is one of those guys with the
Yep.
Cardinals who comes to mind, and lots of other pitchers have gone over there too. So that's kind of what he's trying to do. It isn't so much pitching for a winner or anything like that. I mean, I think he probably won some games or was around when the Nationals won some games. He didn't really have a lot to do with that, but we'll see if he's. I wish him luck, and like you said, he's getting an opportunity to pitch. The White Sox have openings, and it's the kind of move that they should be making. It might be, a little risky for the Twins to go for somebody like that who has not had. They're looking for somebody who they're pretty sure is going to have success over here. But if you look at the Mets, they're certainly into contending. So I mean, we'll see what happens. It's not a lot of money for a baseball player. It's a lot of money for you and me, but we will see what happens with Feyty.
The winter meetings are especially sleepy this winter, and I'm trying to think of if I can remember a time when they were this sleepy. It's literally Luis Garcia signing the former Padres reliever signing is drawing headlines, and Eric Feyty had the news cycle all up in a tizzy for almost 24 hours. Is this the sleepiest winter meetings you can remember?
It's up there or down there or sleepy there. I can't name the year because they all kind of run together to some degree. But I do remember one or two winter meetings that were kind of like this.
Maybe the Bryce Harper off season where he signed late.
That could be.
Yep. That
could be. And I'm a little surprised based on we seem to have some activity leading up to the winter meetings. It seemed like, I know there are some obviously the big name Ohtani is out there, and Yamamoto, the import coming over from Japan. Kind of figured that they probably wouldn't sign during the winter meeting. So I don't know if that is all what's holding things up. But, we had some transactions before it started. So I'm a little surprised that it got sleepy once everybody got to Nashville. We still have the rest of tonight. These things go late and Wednesday. And then Thursday is probably, I think, Rule 5 day, isn't it? And that's typically not a day when you'll see a lot of transactions. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We do, there was a trade, and we'll see like where it leads. But Alex Verdugo going from the Red Sox to the Yankees. I think it's is it only the 7th time that they've traded players, and the first time in a long time? It's just not.
First since Ottavino, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe. It's weird. It's just weird it always feels weird when, you don't see the Bears and the Packers, trading players. You don't see the Washington Generals and Harlem Globetrotters make a trade. Those big rivals. It's strange to see two teams in the same division, especially the Yankees and Red Sox, making a deal. The Red Sox had an excess of left-handed hitting outfielders. Some people have speculated that maybe Verdugo is a step toward the Yankees getting Juan Soto from the Padres. So maybe it will lead to that. That's sort of been the big deal that we thought might happen during the winter meetings. It hasn't. The Juan Soto moving from the Padres. They just cannot agree with the Yankees on the deal. But it also seems like the Yankees sure could use somebody like Juan Soto. Yep. Verdugo, to me, is a little more. He's not mediocre. I mean, he's a little better than that. He's a pretty good defensive left fielder. His arrival kind of means that at this point, it seems like the Yankees are pushed or accepting of putting Aaron Judge in center field, which is he can play it, but he's also, I think he's 32, and he's coming off a toe injury. That seems kind of risky to me. Juan Soto certainly wouldn't clear that situation up, the Yankees outfield defensively, but we'll see if Verdugo leads to more trades.
Well, let's take a quick pause, and then when we come back, I want to ask you a little more about these sleepy winter meetings. But first, a word from Jase Medical. And as I said, Jase Medical would like you to know that we know that you come here to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life. But if we can talk about it for just a minute, preparing for real life is a big deal. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. This is scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if, one of my kids or someone got sick and a supply chain issue kept them from the life-saving medication they needed. And thankfully, that's what we have taken care of with Jase Medical. The Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others, and much more. This stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jasemedical.com and use the offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. That's jasemedical.com, JASE, and use the offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your first order. All right, we are back here, and it is time to jump into the bullpen. Easy for me to say. Dave, one question I want to ask is, do you think that the meetings are so vital that they would never propose a change to how they're set up, as in either not having them at all on the most extreme side or shortening them or anything like that? Do you think there's any way that they would change it up? Because honestly, I mean, I don't remember the last time that we got all excited for the winter meetings and it
Came to fruition.
Delivered.
Right. I didn't get a chance to read it yet. Ken Rosenthal wrote, I saw the headline on Twitter about
Yeah, I
how
had that pulled up, by the way.
baseball must, and that was the word he used, do something to liven up the winter meetings from, I'm guessing, from a fan interest standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, and I just don't know how much, the average fan is interested in transactions. They're interested in free agents signing, they're interested in trades, but I don't know like what kind of breads or circuses they could do to make it more fan friendly, or even if that's necessary. People like us, we care about the meat and the bones, the meat and the potatoes. The meat and the bones is not a saying, but we care about the stuff that happens at the winter meetings because we're kind of nerdy about baseball. I don't know if the public at large gets that way about it. I don't know how important it is. Ken Rosenthal, he's smarter about things than I am, I guess. I'm not sure if he's right about this or if it matters. I think baseball, there's lots of things that, we've talked about on this show and probably will, as far as, blackouts and access to games and what fans are paying for and what they can see. I think there are lots of things that MLB can do in those venues that are way more, like light years more important and urgent than whatever happens in the winter meetings. We're sort of given to whatever mood the sport is in at the time in early December. I don't know that anything can be fixed or needs to be fixed. They're weird sort of little meetings. You get a lot of people there who are job hunting. You get it's a place where minor league teams can go and they meet. There's a lot of things that go on at the winter meetings that are like indirectly important and impact fans, but kind of later. Planning for the upcoming season, buying your mascot's costume, stuff like that. Fun stuff, but not anything that fans are going to care about too much in the moment. It's all later, so it's kind of all that behind the scenes planning that goes into it. It's funny, the trade that was made, the Verdugo trade. It was reported by Tom Verducci on not on MLB Network, maybe MLB Network Radio. I didn't see exactly where he said that, well, it happened because the Yankees brain trust and the Red Sox brain trust were in the same room or ballroom or whatever, the Yankees were having a memorial, basically a celebration of life for Henry Kissinger. And it's just, it's one of those things that makes you go, what? But,
What?
the Yankees put out a statement when Henry Kissinger died the other day that, what a great, naturalized American and all that kind of stuff. And people were kind of shaking their heads at it, but fine, whatever. But it's strange that that's the kind of thing that kind of prompted a trade that got the Yankees and the Red Sox in the room at the same time. And the joke was, I guess, that the Red Sox were the only other team that showed up to the celebration of life for Henry Kissinger. So that gives you an idea maybe about what some people think of him or whatever. But that's what made a trade happen, that their proximity because of this, wake or whatever for the former Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. So it's weird. There's nothing that baseball can. It's not like there should be other ceremonies or other things to get the teams together. Thinking in the Ken Rosenthal vein, to make it's just a weird little meeting where lots of strange stuff happens, and maybe sometimes you get trades depending on what the state of the not organization, but industry is. So it's just kind of a weird thing. It's a fun thing, but it isn't so important that they need to restructure how it works.
No, I think that's probably true. So here's a paragraph from the Rosenthal article that kind of knocked my socks off. And I quote, "The league, according to sources briefed on the discussions, proposed in 2019 a deadline on multi-year contracts that would occur each year on the Wednesday of the meetings. The players' union, after conducting extensive discussions internally and with agents, rejected the idea. The sentiment on the players' side, excuse me, was near unanimous. The union consistently opposes any restrictions on the free market. It also fears deadlines might squeeze certain players to accept below market deals." Now, the fact that that required any sort of, hey, let's go ask the guys how they feel about that. I don't know, man. That paragraph to me just it was shocking that they would even think that was gonna have wheels or legs or whatever. That to me is a total non-starter.
Well, I don't know too much about soccer, the inner workings of the Premier League and all that, but there's something called a transfer window. They have something like this in soccer where there's a certain amount of time where the big stars or maybe anybody on a team in Europe can change organizations, and I think it's something like that. And I don't, that is something that soccer fans get into, but those guys I don't think have as strong of a union, and I mean, as the baseball players do. So I think that's maybe where they get the idea. I don't know if it would exactly work exactly like that, but there is, if you are of a mind that we need to do something about the winter meetings or the off season to make things more exciting, to shorten it up. I can see where they're coming from, but I think the players are absolutely right. On the one hand, that it potentially would kind of hem guys in and sort of make them possibly take a deal that they don't want to do because there's an artificial deadline, and the history of the owners somehow abusing this and colluding even to make something that like that real or worse
Yeah.
is something to when they get to talking about CBAs. I wouldn't let them do it either. So screw that.
Well, and even if you think it's a good premise on its own, the more you let the other side walk toward you without any pushback, the further that line gets in their favor. So I mean,
Right.
even if you think, hey, that could probably be done reasonably well. Well, you also have to consider that whatever rule is put in place, the other side is going to get as close to it as they can without crossing that line.
Right.
And so again, you're not going to just give that you're not going to give that amount of ground for no real reason. So I think it's I think you're right there for sure. One thing that I was thinking about today, this is not really related to anything. I feel like the only time of the year that we use the word bolster is when we're talking about teams making improvements in the offseason, like at the winter meetings. I feel like we've kind of cornered the market on the word bolster.
Maybe at the trade deadline too, somebody wants to
Yeah.
bolster their
Okay.
bullpen or whatever. But yeah, it is a time. Well, I think about this too. You look at all the criticism that a team like the Cincinnati Reds took last year
Yep.
when they didn't really do a lot to bolster things after the season started. They at the trade deadline, I think they got Sam Maul to pitch in the bullpen, and he was good, but they
Yep.
needed maybe like 3 or 4 more guys, and they didn't do it. The
Yep.
the real bone to pick that I would have with them is that last year at the winter meetings, they decided to go on they made some trades, some really good trades that were important, but they had huge holes in the starting rotation. They didn't bring in an Eric Feyty, they didn't sign a Kyle Gibson even, or a Lance Lynn or anything like that. They really kind of went on the cheap. And it is a time for teams to bolster their rosters. They've just got to have the will to uh, commit themselves to spending the money. And I understand that there's maybe some hesitancy going on right now with a lot of teams because of the local TV deals and a certain amount of uncertainty there. And, maybe that is a reason why things are slow at the meetings too. I don't know. But it's a very good time to bolster your team, and your roster, and you don't have to necessarily spend $1 billion to do it either. So I think, does baseball need to do anything with the winter meetings? Oh, maybe not. But one thing, I don't know if Ken was thinking in these terms, but maybe all the teams in the middle need to think about spending a little more cash on free agents and making more trades and doing more things to
Mhm.
bolster their rosters while they can, so they're not necessarily caught short at a trade deadline in June or July or whenever it is, um, because things are gummed up, or they don't have the right players, aren't on the market or whatever. It's a
Yep.
good time to make yourself better, and teams should be more adventurous in doing that. I would be for that. I don't think there's anything that we can change in the rules or whatever to make that happen, other than just encouraging them to do it. And that's something Rob Manfred could do. Bud Selig was good at encouraging. When we were running out of candidates for like minority candidates for managers, and teams weren't. Bud Selig made it a point. For all the things that he didn't do right, it was important to him to make sure that black players or former you know not just white people were managing teams. And I think Rob Manfred could take a cue from Bud and get teams trading and signing, and that could be something that he could do. Absolutely.
He can get the word bolster out there more than
Yes.
these times a year. Uh, Guardians, 2% chance of winning the draft lottery, and they do just that. A's drafting fourth. I believe the White Sox fifth. Do you like the spirit of the MLB draft lottery? Twins obviously benefiting from it last year in grabbing Brooks Lee, but in general, if you can pull off these lotteries without any controversy, for the longest time NHL people would say, oh, they wanted this guy to go to this market and all that. I think John Tavares was one of them, and a few other guys. Do you like the general idea of the MLB draft lottery, and do you think it's serving its purpose?
The spirit of it is fine. This is just like a personal preference, kind of trying to make things like the NBA or the NFL. I understand, that maybe those leagues are better at certain issues than baseball is, and but it's just college baseball and certainly high school baseball. We're talking about niche fans. This is
Yeah.
not college baseball is never going to be as big as college basketball or obviously college football. So I don't know how much you can dress that up to make it widely appealing for people out there. And I'm kind of one of those people. If I wasn't a baseball writer, I'd be a fan. And I don't know these guys very well. I can't get that excited about it. It's fun a little bit. I don't feel too bad for the A's not getting the number one pick because, I mean, the fans, sure, but the organization hasn't tried. So, why should they
Right.
get the number one pick? I guess I see the justice in that. That's fine. But these are little things that there's no tradition of them to speak of, a widely accepted, baseball fans loving the draft. It's not, I don't think there's anything that they can do to make it bigger and more important than it is to a wider amount of people. So it's fine. And I would just leave it at that, I guess.
Okay, so you don't think the Rule 5 draft is going to get to that level too, where I'm kidding. News
It's a
today.
nerds only event, sir. And I say
I-
that without looking down on anyone.
Oh no, I listen to that live feed and always love that there's one side who forgets to mute their phone, their microphone.
Sure.
Anyway, little bit of news today. Twins unveil specialty license plates. So as of January 1st, along with the previously revealed Vikings license plate, there will be a Twins license plate. It actually looks really cool. It's blue on the top, white in the middle, red on the bottom. It says Minnesota at the top. This is Twins territory on the bottom, and it looks pretty slick. Dave, could you ever see yourself rocking a team license plate? I mean, again, maybe people don't realize that if you work in journalism, you're not rooting, you're not a fan. But
Right.
let's just say you and I do this show forever. We are massively successful, and you don't have to worry about being a journalist. Let's just say that.
Right.
If you could just be a fan, would you rock a license plate with, let's not say the Twins. Let's say the Bears, if the Bears got good again.
Wow, you had to pick them.
Had to make it hard.
In that time, my time as a journalist could be coming to an end sooner than anybody knows. But, the sidebar for just a second, being a journalist for me has made me a fan of the sport and a fan of all teams more.
Mhm.
I know that kind of sounds weird. I'm not exactly rooting for teams, but I'm more interested. I'm more tuned in. I feel like I have to be.
Yeah.
No, I have to know. I should know what every team is doing. Some teams I'm better at than others, but I am more of a baseball fan in a deeper way than I used to be as a journalist. So I think I could keep writing about it and getting paid whatever it is, and still do things like getting a plate or stuff like that. Let's see, of the Bears. I don't want to give them any money. The Bears ownership is terrible.
Yeah.
And the Blackhawks ownership is not great. And the Bulls and the White Sox have the same ownership. I'm kind of hemmed into a corner. If I were to get a Twins specialty license plate, it would be, I used to love Eduardo Escobar when he was on the Twins. If I could get some kind of Eduardo Escobar, Nicolas Cage message that only I understand, I would put that on a Twins custom plate.
Fogo power.
Sure, absolutely.
Let's Fogo de Chow. He's actually been working out pretty hard, posted videos on Twitter or X or the X.
Well, he's got to bounce back a little bit. He didn't have a great season last year.
No.
He was okay with the Mets, but he needs a contract to go somewhere, and there's no reason he couldn't come to the Twins or somewhere else and start half the games or 120 games and be still he's always been a good teammate, and he could still be a contributor.
Yeah, and he's also of a certain age where the onus is on him to show he's not winding down. So we'll see what happens there. A couple quick more before we take off. AJ Hinch extended by the Tigers. Easy move for me there. When I look at what the Tigers have accomplished in the years he's been there, amazing that he was only available basically because the Astros had to take a public stance.
Right.
No, it's funny how he kind of fell into their laps, but I'll be darned if he hasn't shown a value he can give to the team.
I would like the Tigers, and it's not his fault. I would like to see them take a little bit of a leap forward, get him some more players. It's there's only so much a manager can do. They've had a couple of seasons here where their second halves have been better. Their young players at the top of their lineup last year look like they improved. He's always gotten good marks from his players that he's easy to play for. And so, I agree that, their general manager, who didn't hire him, but he's really high on him. And, I think I would be too. It's we'll see what kind of improvements the Tigers can make if their ownership spends a little bit more money. So,
hey, breaking news: the Astros are in agreement on a contract with free agent catcher. Who do you think? You probably saw
Jason Verrett. No, that's not it. I don't know.
Victor Caratini.
Oh man,
I thought Martin Maldonado would go back there, but they were going to go another direction, I think. But now we know they are. But yeah, no, it's still like we're getting into the shank of the evening, as Gene Okerlund used to say. And, still kind of left wanting with this winter meetings. A couple quick things. Andrew Bechtold spent first part of his career in the Twins organization, has signed a minor league deal with the Blue Jays, third base, first base, plays a little all over. Tried pitching. It did not go well with St. Paul this year, but good luck to him. Had a nice year at St. Paul, but just no fit here. Sounds like Gary Sanchez might be going back to the Padres. And what else do we have here? No, Twins finalized new broadcasters. It's just the old broadcasters moving upstairs. And finally, Brewers long-term deal with Jackson Chourio. What do you think of guys signing long-term deals before they play? Well, Evan Longoria is the first one I remember. I think he'd played like a week.
Sure. Yes.
What do you feel like? Yeah. How do you feel about those deals? Because we'll close with that.
I'm sort of afraid of them if they're with the Braves, because it seems like that the Braves get too good of a team deal. I don't. Looking at it closely, that's definitely the case with some of those guys. Maybe not all of them. Chourio, is he 19?
Yeah, he's not even 20 yet.
I think it is hard to say no when you grow up and you're not wealthy. I mean, it's just, you never know. John Singleton, not the movie director, but he signed a long-term contract like this with the Astros like 10 years ago. He's just finally now kind of getting into the league as a part-time player. But he was set for life to a degree by signing that deal. It also set up lots of expectations. He probably had some expectations anyway, but that he couldn't fulfill. So it's I think that, if you believe in yourself and you have a strong will, it's good to get that kind of security, and it's really hard to say no. So I don't object to players doing deals like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I think also too, like there have been teams who've tried to copy that model that the Braves have done, and with mixed results.
I remember the Guardians, when they were still the Indians, did that in the 90s with Carlos Baerga and I want to say Kenny Lofton and Albert Bell. And they had lots of deals like that were, pre-arbitration, buying out years, that kind of thing. And it sort of comes and goes as far as a fad in Major League Baseball. Hey, let's do this. Yep. Let's maybe save some money. The Brewers, they definitely are they always let us know about cost control and the limitations that they're under. So this guy's going to be here. Hopefully he's a great player, and they have him for a decade, and he's healthy and all that good stuff.
Well, and as a perfect bookend, they bring back Wade Miley. So more things change, the more they stay the same in Milwaukee. Well, Dave, excuse me. Sorry. I'm starting to yawn here. It's getting late in my neck of the woods.
Am I boring you, Brandon?
No, I'm tired and I'm old.
Right.
But anyway, for Dave Brown, you can follow him on the X machine at Answer Dave Brown. Do not follow me at Brandon_WARNE. I just want to say thanks for hanging out with us. We will be back, maybe with a move. We'll talk about something.
Something will happen.
That has happened. It may be nothing. It may be eventually we have half-hour-long Rule 5 draft preview. But I don't think JJ Cooper from Baseball America is available. So, nevertheless, thanks for hanging out with us. This has been Locked On Twins, and we'll see you tomorrow night.